A couple of weeks ago, I came across this Instagram page, Sign to Hear, and it's such a simple idea that it can't but work. And it's such a nice use of social media. And I'm joined by the page creators, Alison and Taylor. Alison and Taylor, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Sign to Hear, your Instagram page. I'll read out the introduction. So, follow Taylor Beth's journey from silence to sound. 2010, born. 2011, diagnosed as deaf. 2012, first cochlear implant. 2015, second cochlear implant. Taylor, tell me about the Instagram page and tell me what you do on the Instagram page.
I do signing and I teach other people how to sign.
Today's sign is open and close. Today's sign is flower.
Alison, where did you come up with the idea for this?
Well, we used to teach her brother a little sign a day. When he came along, Taylor was 5, and we wanted to kind of rejig our love for sign language because we relied on it so heavily when Taylor was deaf before she got the cochlear implants. So we used to just give him a snippet of a sign every day, and that was the easiest way that he would pick it up. So we just the amount of people that would come across over the years just saying that she was great and does she not sign anymore, and that was one thing we got, that once she started to speak we had dropped all the sign. So we decided then for a great way for us to make ourselves relearn the signs, a sign a day is the best way to do it. And we find now that when we do put up the signs every day, the amount of people who are saying it's going in a lot better because it's only one a day, and they can actually watch the video and watch how she's doing it. That it's an easier way to spread the word and get it out there.
And who do you see using the Instagram page, or where do you see it going, or where's your goals for what's your dreams for the Instagram page?
Well, at the beginning it was kind of, we were just doing it to, for a bit of fun for ourselves, and then we could see the numbers growing and the interest growing and the amount of people saying, oh, this is something I've always wanted to do, and I've always wanted to learn a bit of science. So it's going from young kids, I'm saying kids from early teens who are saying that they want to learn it, right up to like the older generation who are saying it's something that they've always wanted to do. That there's a great interest, and sign language is something that it always intrigues people. We never, like, the numbers are growing weekly on the page, and we had never really thought of where it was going to go or what it was going to do. We were only just doing it for a bit of fun, and it just seems to be growing and growing. So originally we had done this, we were only just doing the sign a day as the month of September, which is Deaf Awareness Month, but because it has kind of created so much interest, it is definitely something we're going to keep up, I think, and keep doing a sign a day for people to take on.
Hello, today's sign is language.
You say you dropped the signing and then you picked it up again. Walk me through that.
What really, there was one day, Taylor Beth she went into school, and with her cochlear implants, the batteries, they need changing daily, and say she's two or three sets of batteries, and they all look the same. So we had obviously picked up the set we thought were charged and put them on, and she went off in school, and I got a phone call then from the teacher to say, sorry, Alison, Taylor Beth's, her implant is after, the battery has died. And I says, right, I'll be, like, we're lucky enough, we're only 10 minutes away from the school. So I had run down, but in that time, she was in the corner of the playground, and she couldn't communicate to anyone because nobody knew sign. And she could speak to them, but she couldn't hear back what they were saying, and nobody could tell her, only through gestures, that it'll be all right, Mammy's coming. She was just in complete silence for the whatever length of time it took me to grab the batteries to get to the school. And from that, it's so important for it's another language that you don't need it until you need it. You know, you don't realize how important it is until that very moment that you say, even our teacher said, if I had have had a handful of signs just to reassure her, that would have been a massive help.
But Taylor, what's that like? What's that like when all of a sudden you put in the wrong batteries or whatever in yours? Is it frightening or
I kind of panic.
okay? And the best way out of that panic would be what? Like, how do you, because you're sitting here and you're like, well, I kind of panicked, but you got through it, you know, which makes you better than the average bear. But how did you get through it?
I don't know. I don't really do anything. I just sit there silent.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine, Taylor. And Taylor, do you enjoy teaching? Do you enjoy the sign a day?
Mm-hmm.
And do many people come up to you and ask you about sign a day?
No, not really.
Well, they will after
The
this.
people in school do.
Really, Taylor, your approach to signing is it's fluid and it's natural. But what's the hardest thing about signing or teaching somebody to sign?
If you sign for a long time, your hands get a little tired.
And what about, like, is there different signs for different language for different parts of the world?
Yeah, there is.
And what are the differences? Give me a couple of differences. Or would you know any differences?
It's like the hand movements, I think, and I don't know. It's because it's different languages.
Hello, today's sign is how are you?
I wanted to pick up my phone and I wanted to press record. And as I was pressing record, I wanted to sign. And I discovered at that moment that you need two hands to sign.
Yeah.
So that I find that's like, how do you get over issues like that? Like, how does that
Only
work?
from Instagram have the one good thing that one of the updates, there's a hands-free option of but as far as I know, it's only on the stories. So if we ever do like a hands-free, we generally record it hands-free on the Instagram story, and you have to save it. Like there's a whole rigmarole. Normally on a normal camera, you can't just plop it there and work away. So you do need a hands-free option. Otherwise, it's just a nightmare.
Alison, talk to me about Taylor Beth's journey. I mean, that's one thing that's a hook there, from silence to sound. Taylor, that's going to be the name of your first book, by the way. Just saying. Talk to us about the journey. Born, diagnosed as deaf, cochlear implant 1, cochlear implant 2.
Well, basically, she was born in May 2010, and she was our firstborn. So, like any other new parents, we didn't know what to expect. And as the weeks went on, she was babbling and gooing and gan, but she never got to the babbling stage of the mama, baba, dada part. So we had gone to, it was like a 6 to 9 month checkup, and they kind of do all the rattles, and she never turned. So they were like, look, we'll bring her back another day. A lot of children don't turn. And my mum actually had said to me, sure, look, you didn't turn when it was yours. And I was up in arms, and, we went back and you were fine the next time. So we kind of we weren't too worried. And when we went back again, then the same, there was no turning, and there was just no reaction to banging on desks, or they were throwing books behind her and things. So there was just no reaction whatsoever. And then they sent her to Stranorlar for an actual audiologist test in a booth. And she soon learned that if she turned her head at a certain time, like a little puppet would light up in a box. So Taylor would automatically turn, but it wasn't to the sound, it was nearly to watch out for the puppet. But she would do it at such a time that they thought she was turning to the sound. So she actually fooled the test for a long time. So from about 7 months right up until we got the official diagnosis at 18 months. We had to keep going back and saying, from 12 months, we knew there was a definite issue, and they kept saying, no, sure, she's passing the test, she's doing this, she will come round to speaking in her own time. And eventually then at 18 months, she failed a test just enough for them to do like it was a test that they would actually put her to sleep for, and they would feed sound through her ears and read her brain signal. And it was that day then we realized that her brain actually wasn't picking up any sound at all, that she was profoundly deaf in both ears. So then fast forward to when she was 2.5, she got her first cochlear implant in the November, and she was switched on then for December. And it took her a good kind of six months before she started mouthing words, and like you had to go right back to the beginning as if she was a newborn, that you had to go back to singing all the nursery rhymes and, you know, pointing at everything and labeling everything. But the only thing was, because we had the base of sign language, whether she could fully speak to us through sign language, so we just had to replace all the signs then with the words, and it was a lot easier than if she hadn't had the base of sign language. And once she got the cochlear implant, then that was the main reason really we pulled back on the sign, was to get the speech going, because we knew our aim for her was to be at a mainstream school and to lead as normal of a life as possible. So we knew she needed the speech to be perfect for, we were aiming for her to be at school for 5 and kind of start school with her peers, which she done in the end. But that was the thing, we could never put her into creche or anything, because if I was putting her into a creche or a childminders, they didn't have any sign. So I had to leave my job at the time to kind of stay at home and be her teacher, and, you know, be the one that could speak to her through sign on a daily basis. Otherwise she just would have been left in a corner, and because a lot of places just don't have anybody who can sign. So it was just, that was the only option for us at the time. And when she went to school then, as she started school, you got your second implant just in the August before she started school. So she started school with her 2 cochlear implants, and the difference the second one has made has been amazing. Like she came on really well with the first one, but since she received the second one, then her like all the sound would have come in from one side, but since she got the second, she can now, like if you clapped on her left, she knows that sound's coming from her left, whereas before this she had no notion of where the sound, if she heard a car coming down the road, she would know from which direction, whereas now she can kind of tell which direction the noise is coming from.
Hello, my name is Laura, and today's sign is thank you.
You said you had to give up your job to look after her. Are there any supports in place, or?
To be honest, well, I'm speaking from somebody who lives in Donegal. We would be the last to get it anyway if there was anything out there. But really, no. Like the day, I will never forget, even the day that she was diagnosed up in the hospital, and they basically just said, look, she's not hearing anything, she's profoundly deaf, and they handed you a handful of leaflets, and it was like, right, go on your merry way and somebody will be in contact. But if you get word like that, you kind of don't know where to turn. You're thinking the worst. You don't, you know, there was nothing in place. And only then I had found a group of parents through Facebook that, and luckily enough, all their children were kind of in and around Taylor's age at the time, and they were all in the same boat, and they were all going for cochlear implants. And it was a great support network, but only that we actually built the network ourselves. There would have been nothing, you know. There's actually, and even because like at the time we had no option, like I had to really set myself up nearly as her carer / teacher / mother at the time, because there's, if you put her in, if I was continuing to work, I would have been in work say 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, and she would have just been in a childcare setting, and unless you were lucky enough to get a childcare setting that somebody had a full, say, level 5 on ISL sign language, she was just going to be kind of gestured at for the day. You know, there would have been no communication as such as in an actual conversation. It would have just been gesturing to eat your dinner or gesturing it's nap time, or there would have been no actual just reassurance of how the day was going, or mommy will be here. So it would just be they would have been able to just communicate enough to get them through the day, and I just didn't want that for her.
And what would you like to see in place? Now, I don't want to take away from the Instagram page. I mean, this is really what we're going to what we want to talk about. But what would you like to see in place? I
would just like to say, even for, like, I know the levels of childcare, and it's an intricate like degree or certificate, whatever level you go for. I would like there to be a basic level of ISL included. I would nearly like ISL to be classed as a language that needs to be learned, because like they're saying about the Irish language is depleting and there's not as many people using it, and it's the same in the deaf community. Unless ISL is kept alive, it will die out, because a lot of children that are being born into the deaf community are the majority of them are born to hearing parents. So like ourselves, they will want to give them cochlear implants to let them hear, to let them kind of integrate into what you would class as a normal life. But as that happens, ISL is being used less and less, and it is a language that unless it's used, it will disappear. And I would just hate for that to happen, because there is so many people that still they rely so heavily on it. And for the fact that there's so many people out there who want to learn it, but there's just no options to learn it unless. I was just going to say, what are the options there for those who want to? Like, from my point of view, I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, but it's something I've wanted to learn. And some of the things I've been told is, it's a language. Don't learn. If you don't use it, you're not going to learn it, which is fair enough. But which one are you going to learn? Do you learn the Irish Sign Language? Do you learn another one? And all of those obstacles kind of put me off until the Instagram page popped up, and there was no specific language, it was like, and today's sign is wolf. Do you know, that was it. I learned that. That was yeah.
it. I was happy out. So what are the obstacles in people's way?
Well, first of all, like we just generally go with ISL, the Irish Sign Language. And if you look at kind of the BSL, which is the British Sign Language, and the ASL, American Sign Language, there is a lot of similarities. If you look through, like if you done the BSL alphabet and the ASL, there is a lot of letters that are similar. It's when you come into certain hand movements and certain hand gestures are where you would know the language would differ. So it would be like, say, if we have a word for something in English and there's a very similar word in French or whatever, that's just where, like, if I was signing to somebody now to compare to somebody down in Kerry, they can actually pick up their sign language has an accent as such, so they would know the way a gesture would be done in Donegal would be different in Kerry, so they would be able to say, oh, you're from Kerry, or oh, you're from. So it's the same way as you're hearing my accent, they would be able to pick up. So it's everywhere has their own little dialect as such, but like ISL as a whole, that would be what we would learn in Ireland. And then you can kind of, if you spoke to somebody through British Sign Language, you would still be able to pick up bits. It would be like maybe missing out on something because of somebody's accent, and it's you would be able to maybe piece together certain parts of their signs and get the gist of what they were saying. But definitely ISL would be the route to go. And so what you're saying is it's a good foundation to build on. Oh, definitely, yeah. I mentioned for me, from my own point of view as well, the learning, I'm a visual learner, and I didn't realize how much of a visual learner I was really until the website, until Instagram. So I'm sure there's others out there like me. Like, for example, we chatted on DMs. I asked you how to spell my name, or how do you say Hassan, and you said you spell it out. Now, I looked up the pictures for how to spell it out, and I may as well have been reading Chinese.
And then, and then I saw it done, and all of a sudden it made a little bit of sense. So
Yeah.
I think for teachers out there, do you know what? If you went on Sign to Hear and you learned, and your class learned a sign a day, there could be worse things you could be doing.
Exactly. And if the main thing, if you can nail the alphabet, if you can spell a word, you might know the sign for it, but if you can spell a word, you're all the way. Do you know, like if you can, even something as simple as the sign "my name is," and you can sign your name, then you can spell your name. It's somebody who uses sign language, they will think so much of you even attempting, you know, to be able to sign to them. It's like, say if you go to Spain on a holiday and you attempt, like how bad and all your Spanish might be, the fact that you've attempted to order in their language, they will always be happy.
Okay.
It goes the exact same as using sign language. You mightn't be great at it, you might use, you know, the wrong words or the signs in the wrong way, but they will still be delighted that you've even made the effort to learn it.
And Taylor, talk to me about, and I'm going to ask you this, something I discovered. So what's the sign for "my name is"?
My name is.
My name. Okay. Now, I spotted somebody, the gesture was much bigger. So you said "my name is that right?" So "my name is," and then I'd have to learn how to spell my name, which, by the way, is not going to happen in the next 5 minutes. Just saying. Right? Because the other thing I learned, by the way, thank you, is how I'm not very good at moving my hands. So I think the fair play to you for doing it. I keep, like, can you imagine my fingers tripping over themselves? That's what it feels like. Anyway, moving on. You said "my name is." I saw somebody doing a bigger gesture. Is that a different sign, or is it what we were talking about, a different way of doing the same sign?
I actually don't know.
That's little Erin. That's just her. Erin would be very, she would be very, you know, she would be very out there, and she's very open and like colourful. Yeah, and even the way she speaks. So Erin will always put on a show. So that's just Erin's way of. That's her her way of, like, it some people do the name bigger, but we've always just done it very kind of simple.
And is there, Taylor, is there a different, like, this may be a silly question, but is there a way to shout or yell, or is that a thing? Like, is it a thing? Alison, that's to both of you, like.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is a way. We would always. Sign is also, along with the sign, it's a lot to do with facial expressions, and you kind of still mouth the words. So
Okay.
if you're signing and you're angry, you would kind of have an angry. Well, that's the way we would have always done it. I'm sure there possibly is a way for kind of, as you say, kind of professional signers or people who use it in everyday life, that they may have a way to do it, but definitely we would be more facial expressions of how we would go about kind of different feelings and that while we're signing.
And you mentioned that and this is to both of you, you mentioned mouthing the words. So I should always be talking what I'm signing. And I'm using the wrong terminology, I know I am. So I should always be saying "my name is." But does my sign have to match what I'm saying?
No, definitely not, because see, when you sign "my name," you're basically, your sign is saying "name me." So your sign is, so as long as you're saying "my name is," you're saying how it is. So you're basically, you mouth what you're trying to say and you sign, but your sign will not always match to what your mouth is mouthing out. But it's more so for people who, there's some people who sign and half sign and half lip read, so that they can match it up, you know, so it doesn't have to be kind of on an even par, as long as you're doing both at the same time.
And is signing and lip reading, is that something that comes hand in hand, or does it go hand in hand?
Well, I found with Taylor even now, like she would take her cochlear implants off at night and like goes to bed, she's in complete silence. So when she comes into us in the morning to get ready, she generally doesn't put them on until after she has breakfast. Like that's her choice. She likes her bit of quiet time in the morning. But when I'm speaking to her, then she has to be looking at me, and she is a master of lip readers. Like we can still have a full conversation in the morning before she has her implants on.
Taylor, where would you like to see this going? This is especially for you now. Like, where would you like to see Sign to Hear going?
I actually don't know.
So would you like to be famous?
A wee bit famous.
A wee bit famous. I like it. I like it.
Hi, welcome to Sign to Hear. My name is Amy. Today's sign is dog.
I think what you're doing is amazing. I think you're using a technology that's there, that's often put down. You're picking it up and you're saying, well, you know what? I'm going to use it for good, so fair play to you. Your journey is a long one, so the very best of luck to you, both of you. And Beth or Taylor, from my point of view, I genuinely like the little bit of happiness you bring to me and others like me who wait for the phone, who wait for it. And they go, oh, there's my sign today, and I learn it. Alison, the work you're doing, fair play to you. I want you both to think of a way that we can incorporate your Sign to Hear. So is it a phrase a week, or is it a sign a day?
Today's sign is Happy Halloween.
Think about it, will you?
We will, won't we? Yeah, we'll put the thinking hats on and see what we can come up with.
Good stuff. So, Alison, Taylor, thank you very much for joining me in the CESI Staffroom.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.